Tax Pro, and today we're going to talk about the difference between credits versus deductions for taxes. This is a really confusing topic for a lot of people. A lot of people want to know what is the difference between credits and deductions and which one is better or which one offers more benefit. The answer is it depends. So credits generally reduce the amount of tax that you owe, and in some cases, those credits may be refundable, so they can result in a refund. Sometimes you may have certain credits that are partially refundable. So there may be the initial so much of that credit can create a refund, but once you hit above that particular amount, the rest of the credit is not refundable. Deductions, on the other hand, generally reduce the amount of taxable income. So credits normally give you a dollar for dollar benefit, whereas deductions do not, because deductions are reducing the total amount of income that you are taxed on. So let me show you what that looks like on Form 1040. This is Form 1040, which is our individual federal income tax return. So there are credits that may be taken corporate returns. I'm not going to discuss those because I think that generally tax credit versus tax deduction, I think that question is normally centered around individual returns. So I'm going to cover this with the individual returns, but know that this may come into play with corporate returns as well. So this is our Form 1040. And Form 1040 is 2 pages. So this is page 1, and then this is page 2. Generally, what ends up happening is the top part of the Form 1040 on page 1, you put all your personal information along with that of your spouse if you have one. You select your filing status. You answer some questions as far as digital assets and dependents. Then you start adding your income. Okay, so here's where you add your income. You may have capital gains or losses as well, so it's not just income, right? And then at the end of the page, we end up with taxable income right here on line 15. Taxable income is what is computed when we add all the income together and any sort of deductions, okay? So for example, you'll notice on line 12, we have the standard deduction or itemized deductions. So if we take our standard deduction, let's say that we're married filing joint, and we're taking this $29,200 in our standard deduction, we are not reducing the amount of tax that we owe by $29,200. We are reducing our taxable income by that amount, okay? So we are not reducing the amount of tax that we owe with the deduction. We are reducing the amount of taxable income. And then that taxable income is then where we calculate our tax from, right? Because that taxable income, we're then going to take to our tax tables and we're going to go through the tax brackets. So the first so many dollars of taxable income are taxed at this rate. The next so many dollars are taxed at this rate. And so taxable income, when we reduce this by $1, we are saving so many cents, okay? We're not saving a dollar for dollar. So once we calculate taxable income on line 15, we then have our tax calculation 16, okay? Then we start looking at our credits. So here we are now reducing our tax dollar for dollar by tax credits, okay? And so generally we get a higher benefit dollar for dollar from a credit than we do from a deduction. Now, some credits are not refundable and other credits are. It just depends on what credit we're dealing with. Once these credits are taken into account, we then have our total tax. And then we can also have some additional credits down here under payments, okay? So we may have our earned income credit. We may have our additional child tax credits. and we may have some refundable credits here. So your credits generally provide you more benefit than your deductions. The difference here is that our tax credits actually reduce the amount of tax that we owe dollar for dollar, whereas our deductions are taken into account to reduce our taxable income. Hopefully that makes sense and that answered any questions that you may have. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.